Disappearance Day observance. We have a short but very sweet program lined up. And so thanks to Abby for that nice kirtan. So in a few minutes then I'll be reading some letters from Srila Prabhupada to Tribhuvanath when he was in charge of Scotland, and also Kishore Prabhu, a couple of letters to Kishore related to Srila Prabhupada and Scotland. And then at 5:15 we have Hari Sori Prabhu. We have three very senior devotees, Prabhupada disciples. We have Hari Sori Prabhu, who was Prabhupada's personal servant. You may have read some of his books, Transcendental Diary. And he spoke in Mayapur this morning, so there's some excerpts from that. We'll have Guru Vaishnak, the evening melody. And at 5:45 we have Bhaktivigna Vinash Narasingha Swami. He'll be speaking for 10 minutes. And then we have another wonderful devotee, Pangajangri Prabhu. Him and his brother, they're twins, aren't they? And Prabhupada says that they're the incarnation of the deity worship. So all things deity worship is authorized by these devotees. And then we'll have a bhajan, Jaya Nila. We'll be doing it in kirtan, we won't be sitting down. We'll do a arti to Prabhupada at that time. A tray made up somewhere, do we? Ram will sort that out. Great. So that's at 6:10. We'll have kirtan and arti for Prabhupada. And then at 6:30 we'll have evening arti, Gora Arti and Damdarastakam, and then at 7 p.m. we have prasad. So this very special day of Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, as we were mentioning this morning, Prabhupada taught us many, many lessons. And this lesson of leaving the body behind and going to Krishna, this is the final lesson, which all the other small lessons life culminate that naturally at the time of death we take shelter. So the time of death may come suddenly, or it may become one of those things is long drawn out. So are we ready to take shelter of Krishna suddenly? Or have we done enough service and endeared ourselves to Krishna enough that even if we forget him, he won't forget us? And if our passing is something which is long drawn out, then are we developing the qualities where we won't get caught up in self-pity and just take shelter in Krishna? So these are serious questions. One way or another, the opportunity to take shelter in Krishna, we have to cultivate that, so that when the time is right, then we can follow that example. So as we mentioned this morning, Prabhupada came to this world basically to invite us back to Godhead, show us how to live a life as a devotee in the material world in Kali Yuga, and how to leave this world as a devotee and go back to Krishna. That's pretty much Prabhupada's mission there. And he left the means for us all, even though he's personally not present, he left the means for us all to take advantage of this Krishna consciousness movement and finally meet him face to face in the spiritual world. I would say that if you chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds a day, follow regulative principles, guaranteed you'll meet Krishna face to face after this life. So what could be better than that? So a couple of letters here. First one is in June 16th, 1972. Prabhupada wrote this letter in Los Angeles. My dear Tribhuvanath, please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter dated 10th of June 1972, and with great pleasure I have noted the contents. I was wondering, but I'm very glad to hear your report of getting the very nice temple in Edinburgh. I think it is Krishna's desire that you have got that place in such perfect location. So now apply yourself very seriously and take advantage of this opportunity for spreading Krishna consciousness all over that city and in other places in Scotland. The price of £13 a week for such a large place is not at all bad. Yes, take the place for as many years as they will agree to. So someone says to us once, can we get that place back in Edinburgh? And says, yeah, if we can get it at £13 a week. Probably be more like 1,300 a week now. Next to London, Edinburgh is highest for property. Because there is close proximity of many students, the important thing to give them is our books and literature. They are interested to get knowledge, but materialistic knowledge will lead them astray from real goal of their intelligence, and all of their credits in education will only add up to so many zeros. But if you yourself are very much well acquainted with our Krishna philosophy, you will be able to convince them that if they make Krishna or God the center of their learning process, never mind their scientists, chemists, politicians, whatever they may be, if they put Krishna in front of so many zeros, they will come out with a huge sum, and their life will be very much perfect. If you require assistance from preaching to the student class, I think Rebati Nandan can come there and preach very nicely to the scholarly class in their own language. Now, in our philosophy classes, each day I'm discussing one of your Western philosophies, and so far we have discussed many, many philosophers like Aristotle, Kant, Hegel, Marx, like that. And now we're discussing Darwin and other scientists from your Western countries. Because they have missed the central point that we are not the controllers of nature, rather we are controlled by nature, and because they do not see that there is a supreme controller who is controlling even the nature, therefore their vast research and display of intelligence is only so much waste of time. It is just like a child. A child may play with the imitation of another child, and the child will hold the doll and play with it as if it is real. But the parents who gave the child the doll, they know good and well the child is nonsense, but they tolerate and enjoy sometimes, just like my sisters used to prepare for me some imaginary puris from their toys of very small cooking things, and I used to pretend I was eating them, and we were quite happy that this was the same thing, just like our parents were doing. We did not know we were nonsense, our nonsense cooking, another nonsense eating, but our father knew we were nonsense. So it is like that in this material world. Everyone is acting more or less like children, clinging to some playthings provided by the father and taking them very seriously. But when we become actually wise and see things from the point of view of our Father and take his instruction, then we make progressive advancement out of the childish nonsense stage of life, or life in this material world. Now organize the temple very nicely and request tourists to come in, and with many flowers you can decorate the whole hall with flowers and it will be very much attractive. You can make a signboard that says guests are requested to offer a flower to the deity. The flower market is nearby, and any gentleman will bring flowers and give them prasadam. A gorgeous temple means many flowers, beautiful decorations, and prasadam distribution. It's a very simple formula for a gorgeous temple. Some sort of kirtan must go on continuously. Further, chanting 16 rounds must be completed. That is our spiritual strength. And I am very much stressing nowadays that my students shall increase their reading of my books and try to understand them from different angles of vision. Each sloka can be seen from many, many angles of vision, so become practiced in seeing things like this. If we're selling the books but we do not know what is inside the book, that will be a farce, especially if you're preaching and selling books to the students of Edinburgh. So Prabhupada knew that Scotland was well known for education, being that he was educated by teachers from Scottish Churches College. Now I'm coming to London very soon for your Rath Yatra celebration, and I shall be very happy to see you all, my beloved disciples, there in England. You mentioned one very large festival being held there in Edinburgh from July to August, so if you can arrange some big meetings for me to speak there and address the public at large as well as the students, that will be very nice. One thing, I'm already scheduled to speak in Paris on July, I didn't give some dates, So if you arrange some meetings at the Edinburgh Festival, you should schedule them for last part of July or early August accordingly. The best thing is to always serve Krishna and depend upon him at every moment, and everything will come. Hoping this meets you in good health, your ever well-wisher A.C. Bhaktisanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki. So that was to Bhuvanath in Edinburgh. And we'll make up for time in the kirtan at the end. See, there's two letters to actually.
So quantum.
Huh?
So quantum back of the symbol.
They've got different dates.
What is it?
Yeah. One is February and the other one is December, same year. Okay, so this is to Kishore Prabhu, who some of you may know from the manor, but he is from Edinburgh originally and he used to live in the Edinburgh Temple. He was a very good preacher. My dear Kishore Das, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 30th of December 1971, and I have appreciated very much the sentiments therein. I can understand that you're learning our philosophy very nicely, so if you become very convinced in this way, and if you preach very vigorously in Scotland, then I think Krishna will give you every opportunity to establish this movement very solidly there. I attended the Scottish Churches College in Calcutta, and I can remember the Scottish professors were very fond of philosophy. So I think if you're very much determined to preach to learned persons, that they will appreciate very much and come forward to help you. Simply, if the standard of our routine work is maintained very highly, that is, if we steadfastly perform our daily program of rising early, cleansing, chanting 16 rounds, holding kirtan, wherever we are at least twice daily, reading, worshipping the deity, going on sanktan like that, if this routine work is always done nicely and never neglected, then all our success is guaranteed in whatever we do. But if this, our regular Krishna consciousness program, is allowed to slacken, then everything else we try will fail. That is a simple formula for success. So I'm very pleased that you're determined to start a nice centre in Edinburgh, and this will please me very much to hear regular reports how you're doing. Because I think we have been trying to start something there for some time, if you are able to present our philosophy to the student class, that will help, and also they will be interested to buy many books. So try for it, and Krishna will give you all assistance, hoping this meets you in good health and cheerful mood, your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktisanta Swami Prabhupada. And then finally, this one is in December of the same year. So that one was February. The first one was in June. So this is also to Kishore. My dear Kishore, please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter from Edinburgh dated December 1972. Can't read the date. And I'm so much pleased to hear from you again. Actually, I liked that place, Scotland, very much when I was there last time. And especially I saw that the Scotsmen were very much inclined toward their preaching, but the weather was, for me, unbearable. But I think by next summer, everybody here doesn't mind it though, right? Don't use Prabhupada as a reason for you to decide, oh, I'm going to Hawaii. But I think by next summer they might have got a nice place in London, and because it is a little warmer there, I may go and stay sometime in London, and if there's opportunity, I shall see Scotland Temple also. Unfortunately, that opportunity didn't come a second time. I'm very glad to note that you are so much sincere and enthusiastic devotee of Krishna. That is wanted. If I do not do anything else, at least let me produce one such sincere devotee. That's all. Imagine Prabhupada saying that about you. You are a leader, so if you are enthusiastic, then all of the others will remain always enthusiastic. That is your greatest qualification. So there's no need to consider if you're too enthusiastic. And it is easy thing to maintain your enthusiastic behavior. If you yourself and the rest devotees under your protection always without fail chant minimum 16 rounds daily. He said minimum, he didn't say maximum. rise early in the morning for Mangal Arati, take bath, cleanse everything nicely, go out for preaching work like that. In this way, it's interesting because Prabhupada mentioned a few of these things, and one of the very important things is keeping the place clean. So we shouldn't underestimate, if we're told to do a cleaning duty or asked, to think, oh, I'm only cleaning. This is one of the very key things which Prabhupada is asking. And we're doing that. That means that Prabhupada is giving you the service. Go out for preaching work like that. In this way, if you stick tightly to the basic principles of devotional life, as chalked out for us by our great predecessors, then always you will be feeling transcendental ecstasy of enthusiasm. That is Krishna consciousness. It is very simple. Yes, I have seen the press article sent by yourself and Rubati Nandan, and I'm very thankful to Rubati Nandan also for giving you all nice boys and girls the right instruction. I can understand that it may be sometimes difficult by material consideration for our preaching work there. I could not bear so much cold even in August, but because you are so much sincere to serve Krishna, never mind a little cold. What is that? Only something touching my flesh, that's all. Amazing, huh? Because you are thinking in this way and pushing on the mission of preaching work despite any conditions, therefore you are getting the best advantage of Krishna conscious movement. So Prabhupada is glorifying the devotees, but he's also instructing them how to see this austerity. It's just something touching the skin, that's all. Because you have worked so hard for Krishna, making all sacrifice without any personal selfish motive, therefore you are all making such nice advancement in spiritual life. Thank you very much for helping me in this preaching work. May Krishna bless you more and more. Hoping this makes you in good health. Your ever well wisher. Srila Prabhupada ki. So if anybody wants any copies of these, see Raghunath, he can send you them on. And these are a couple of letters which are pertaining to Krishna consciousness in Scotland and Prabhupada's desires. So now we'll be presenting Hariswari Prabhu, who is going to speak. He spoke this morning in Mayapur. So this is some excerpt that Raghunath has selected for us to hear.
Go from the computer straight.
It'll go straight, okay. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Important day of the year. The first most important is Srila Prabhupada's Appearance Day. And the second most important is Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. Because we generally think that the word disappearance means no longer there. But in transcendental terms, appearance and disappearance are the same thing. If Prabhupada's not appearing here, he's appearing somewhere else. If he disappears from one place, he appears in another place. That's the transcendental nature, Sri Krishna and his entourage. So, Srila Prabhupada is a very important personality in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. I'm not sure that we actually ever understood who he is and what his full capability is. But there's no doubt that in history, as Prabhupada told us in 1977 on the train from Allahabad to Calcutta, history will mark this period when the Krishna consciousness movement saved the whole world. So we've yet to see the full blossoming of Srila Prabhupada's potency and what that will affect of it. There's a plan that we're privileged to take part in, especially those who had personal engagement with Srila Prabhupada. There's not just them, but others also. But there's a plan that Prabhupada had for saving the whole world. And although we may appear to be small in numbers at the moment, we can be sure that the Krishna consciousness movement is going to grow exponentially. It's going to increase its size more and more. Prabhupada, in Bhubaneswar in 1977, he told us that with our farming communities, he said first just a few people will come. He said then there'll be hundreds, and then there'll be thousands, and then there'll be tens of thousands coming to ISKCON for guidance and a place to stay, food to eat, prasadam, etc. So Prabhupada had big plans. He knew that they would go beyond what he personally could do, but he trained as many people as he could in the transcendental techniques of chanting Hare Krishna and distributing prasadam. I was just reading yesterday a verse from the Madhya Lila, chapter 3, where Prabhupada mentions there that the yajna for this age is to chant and eat prasadam. That's all. He said, people let them come. He said, we all have this experience. The people come, let them chant, let them dance, take some prasadam and go home. He said later on, when their hearts become a little purified, then they can understand the philosophy. But Prabhupada was very keen then. He said, this is the yajna for this age, to distribute prasadam and to chant Hare Krishna. So we have to carry that instruction that Prabhupada gave about preaching, that we should all be engaged somehow or another in spreading the glories of the holy name and distributing as much prasadam as possible. That will actually transform the entire planet. I'm reminded of when Prabhupada's godbrother, His Holiness B.R. Sridhar Swami, he came here to Mayapur, Chandrodaya Mandir, that in those days there was just the one building. He came to spend a few hours with Srila Prabhupada on Gaurpurnima. They took prasadam together and they took rest. And then afterwards they talked with each other for about 2 hours. So as Prabhupada's servant, generally speaking, I was allowed to enter Prabhupada's room whenever I needed to. And whenever Prabhupada had visitors, he would always have us, bring prasadam, etc. And I would always sit in the room so they could hear what was going on, because it's transcendentally attractive. But I wanted to know how Prabhupada was doing things, getting a little training. So when Sridhar Maharaj came, I didn't do that because I just felt that the level of intimacy between the two of them excluded, a peasant like myself, Sudra. And so I didn't dare kind of enter into that transcendental space, as it was going on. But after Sridhar Maharaj left and went back to his temple in Navadvip, I went straight into Prabhupada's room to find out, hoping to find out what they had talked about. So Prabhupada obliged. He didn't give detail, but he said that Sridhar Maharaj had told him that this verse, Prativiche Chajato Nagaradi Gram Sabatra Prachahoive Moranam, he said, we thought that this is some kind of poetic glorification of the holy name. We never believed that the holy name could actually go to every town and village. But he said, you have done it. He said, we didn't believe it. We thought it was just some poem. But you have actually practically done it. So he said, you are the actual Acharya. So, the history of that, we won't go into that now. But he appreciated very much the work that Prabhupada had done. And something that seemed impossible was made possible by the endeavors of Srila Prabhupada. So even amongst his own God brothers. There's so many elevated souls, but the understanding of his Guru Maharaj's ambitions, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had plans to take Krishna consciousness overseas. He'd already sent 3 of his disciples to London in the 1930s, but they couldn't do anything. When they came back, he was quite unhappy that they had not achieved anything in the 3 years that they'd been in the West. So that had to wait for some time before the fruition of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's desire could come forth and be shared by everybody in the world. And the person who was doing that was his disciple, seemingly innocuous householder, as they could call him, Kachagri Hasta, that Prabhupada had succeeded in revealing the plans that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had set in motion. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had worked and endeavored very hard. He had plans himself that if they were successful in London, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was going to go there and make his base England, and from there preach around the world. It was a well-known fact in the Gaudiya Math that the ambition of their Guru Maharaj was to realize this verse, Prachiviche Chejato Nagarati Ground, but they were unable. Prabhupada told me one time when I asked that, your God brothers, they were sincere. We had the same books, they had the same instructions. So how is it that they were not successful? Prabhupada stopped. He was on the morning walk. He said they were never sincere. He said, my Guru Maharaj wanted these things, but they could not achieve them because they were not sincere enough to make the austerity that was involved to establish Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is very unique. There's nobody else in the universe, at least our universe, that did what he has done. And he's continuing to do. Every day, books are going out, Prasadam is going out. We have so many temples, millions of people are visiting them, all from one small, apparently, small personality from an obscure place in the middle of nowhere, Vrindavan, with no possessions, no friends, nothing. It's quite remarkable how Prabhupada was able to manifest this ISKCON society in just a short period of time. So anyway, Prabhupada has left us a great legacy. We observe these ceremonies of appearance and disappearance so that we don't forget what our duty is for the remainder of our lives. We're all endowed, at least, with some intelligence, and we should apply that to figuring out how to spread this movement wider, far, every day. So we're very fortunate. We're here in Mayapur. This is Prabhupada's place of worship, and our worship is to Srila Prabhupada. He sends our worship to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So we're privileged. We've been given a place in Prabhupada's parampara, line of spiritual shelter, and we should take advantage as much as possible. So I'll finish here, but
keys easy for you. Okay, just try it. Samsara Davana Lalita Loka Anaya Karuna Samsara Saptachatayana Dunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Mahaprabhu Sananita Dita Savitra Madhya Manasurasena Romanchakam Shikanga Bhadro Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Vigrahara Dhanitana Singaratana Niramaganado Yutashabhatam Sanindra Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Chaturvedhase Bhagavata Sado Vadana Kirtan Harivata Sangam Sritaiva Kirtan Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Viradika Madhavayura Para Madhuyari Garuna Lupanama Satikshana Svatana Guru Bhatta Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Nityunjaya Norati Kirisita Jaya Vidhi Vittira Prakshaniya Satyati Dasha Nati Bhavadasha Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Rakshadari Namaste Shastri Avatari Rakshati Hindu Prabhuya Priya Kasha Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Yasha Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasha Prasada Nagati Tutopi Jayam Shivam Sashaya Kashti Sangha Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Vande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda Vande Guru Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki. We have another talk lined up from His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Vinash Singh Maharaj.
It's from Falkirk originally.
What's that?
He's originally from Falkirk.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's from Falkirk.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the other day, there's not much good came out of Falkirk. And I've never been proved wrong, thankfully. We done Sankirtan, and no offence to anyone from Falkirk, but we did Sankirtan there many years, and it's well known for underage pregnancies, and all the girls are about 15 have got a bump, and all the boys have got bumps. I was thinking it's unusual, but one great thing came out of it is Maharaj. So, okay.
So Srila Prabhupada, before he left this world, he did prepare all of us for his departure. Certainly, when reporters would ask him about who would lead the movement after he's gone, he said, I will live forever by my books. So Srila Prabhupada always put a lot of stress on his books, and if we look in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can see how he dedicated first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, said, to my spiritual master, He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. So Srila Prabhupada does. Follow his instructions. Very important. We have to know Prabhupada's instructions. We have to know them by studying his books very carefully. Very important for all of us as devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement. We want to know what was Prabhupada's instructions and dedicate our life to following these instructions. Srila Prabhupada was very courageous in presenting Krishna consciousness. And that Prabhupada was describing when he was a young man, a young boy even, he climbed up on top of the Victoria Memorial. And devotees were surprised and said, Prabhupada, you went all the way on top of the Victoria Memorial as a young boy? Were you not afraid you could fall down? And Srila Prabhupada said, did I not go to America alone with hardly any money? He said, yes. Another devotee, I was hearing one devotee give class, he was describing a Prabhupada pastime, which I'd never heard before. He said that one devotee approached Prabhupada and asked him, what do you feel when you chant Hare Krishna? And Prabhupada immediately replied, I feel no fear. So, Abhay Charan, A.C. Bhaktivedanta stands for Abhay Charans, Abhay meaning without fear. Srila Prabhupada lived up to his name. He was fearless. And we see in his preaching of Krishna consciousness how he was totally fearless and very outspoken. We can hardly imagine today people coming along and preaching simple living, high thinking. Who wants that? Everybody's thinking about sense gratification. They all want to have the modern lifestyle. We live surrounded by computers and mobile phones, high-speed communications and transportation systems. And Prabhupada comes along all the way from Vrindavan, India, at the age of 70. In Asian countries, when you're older, people give you a little more respect. But in the West, to be old is to be dirt. You're the lowest. People don't look up to old people usually in the West. But Prabhupada comes along at the age of 70, and somehow he captures all of the youth. He gets everybody attracted to Krishna consciousness, particularly young men and women. They took up Krishna consciousness with great enthusiasm and vigor. And by Prabhupada's instructions, they were seen on all the cities of USA chanting and dancing. That Hare Krishna had become well known all over USA. I don't know about today. I don't know what people would say. They'd maybe say, where have you been? What happened? But anyway, at least in Prabhupada's time, and for some time afterwards, it was there. The Krishna consciousness movement was very active and very much alive. And behind everything was Srila Prabhupada's instructions to push on the Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada was outspoken. He taught life comes from life. The scientists are talking about creating life, and they're synthesized DNA and RNA, and they're talking about one day we're going to, conquer all the miseries of the material existence. And Srila Prabhupada comes along and speaks. Life does not come from matter. Life comes from life. And this material world is a place of misery. Everyone's thinking we're here to enjoy. and Prabhupada comes along and bursts a bubble and tells everyone there is no enjoyment in anywhere in this material world. So bold, so outspoken. Women's liberation was coming up. Prabhupada comes along and said, woman's brain is half the size of a man's brain. So bold, so outspoken, so much courage he had to preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Well, people are celebrating, oh, America have landed a man on the moon. Srila Prabhupada said, that is not the moon. Srila Prabhupada revealed the gospel truth according to the Vedic literature. He burst the illusions of the material world. He spoke the truth without compromising, very boldly, very forcefully, very convincingly. I know I was convinced when I heard him, and I just pray that I can hold on to his lotus feet and continue to try to do some little service on behalf of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness movement. One of the phrases which Srila Prabhupada gave us was that your love for me will be shown by how you all cooperate with each other after I'm gone. So I pray that I can always cooperate nicely with all the devotees, even though I may not always agree with everything which happens in the Krishna consciousness movement. But I pray that I will always remain in Krishna consciousness, and I will stay loyal to Srila Prabhupada, because this movement represents Srila Prabhupada's will. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
So actually I was a bit unkind to Falkirk Varys, because many of those people kindly bought our books. Used to go there often. So now I think we have another talk lined up. Is that right? Ready to go with that? Yeah? Okay, so this
Wonderful
is a
stories and miracles of Srila
Pankajangri Prabhu. Okay.
Prabhupada, which are very surprising, but they'd see normal place, normal activities for Prabhupada. There's great achievements that he did. He didn't seem to endeavor too much, but actually to make a miracle, it takes a lot of hard work. It's not like the tricks, the magic show. Real magic, Krishna's magic, it takes hard work, and it's a science also that Prabhupada had submitted himself to the order of the spiritual master, and within the order it contains the ability to do it also. So that's why Prabhupada, he tried in India to spread Krishna consciousness, but it didn't work, because that's not what his spiritual master wanted to do primarily. So we see we're here in the classes this morning, although Prabhupada's saying the same class maybe hundreds of times, you know, you're not the body, you have to understand it, but still he's so enthusiastic, and even though he said the same thing so many times, I guess he had to, because when Srila Prabhupada, he not only had to do the impossible, he had no one to work with. So then he had to train everyone. He didn't have any cultured assistants. So that was so much time was spent in just training his disciples how to in the Aryan culture. So that was a lot of Srila Prabhupada's time to manage the movement, as you can read in his letters, the prolific letters, but telling how to adopt this culture. Mainly it was, you sure everyone's chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 Agya principles, because as soon as you deviate from the orders, and the troubles begin. So he had to teach us everything. He taught me how to sit, or he taught me how not to sit. Get some props here. I was doing the guard duty on the Lotus building on top of the stairs. Someone used to sit there that Srila Prabhupada wouldn't be disturbed. So I was sitting on the chair. I was like this, and I was looking down at Prabhupada's room. The Prabhupada came out the other door and came around this way, down the veranda. And I was looking like this, and I suddenly looked, and Prabhupada was standing there. So I just knew back there, and I just froze, and I didn't know what to do. So the Prabhupada looked at me, and he said, "You know, you shouldn't sit before your spiritual master like that." So I said, "Sorry, Srila, I don't know anything." So then I hopped down to pay my obeisances. Then he saw I had a bandage on my foot because he said, "Oh, you have a bad foot leg?" I said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada." Then that's all right. That's all right. So I had to spend so much time in kind of training us. Recently, I was given a class in the and on the 10th canto, and it is the Krishna Brahma steals the boys and the cows. And that was actually the last purpose of Prabhupada while he was on this planet. And so right at the end of this, almost at the end of the chapter, then he's talking about how, you know, Krishna himself became the cows, the boys. Brahma's amazed, then he transfers them all again to Vishnumurtis, right, with yellow dhoti, beautiful hair, helmets, and forearms and things, and how the description, how they're giving sidelong glances to their devotees and impregnating the desire within the devotee. Because Prabhupada says in the purport that all the pure devotees, their desires have already been fulfilled. They've got Krishna. So if your desires are all fulfilled, what are you going to do? You know, it's nothing to do kind of thing. If you go to the spiritual world, you don't have any more material desires. So then it said that glance to Vishnu, that inspires them with desire. A desire for service, to serve him. And then they engage in service to Krishna, for the activities there, for different exchanges of different kinds of emotional feelings that they're getting from it. And then Prabhupada finishes the purport, quite out of context. He's talking about himself. He said, I'm not out of context, in context, but he said, one devotee desired. Then in a corner of Vrindavan, there should be a temple here with Srila. And now we have this Krishna Balaram Mandir there. Of course, Prabhupada was that devotee, he was talking about himself. Where there's service going on to Krishna. That is, in other words, that Krishna inspired Srila Prabhupada to have that desire, and then Prabhupada voiced that desire, and then the temple manifests, and now it's a place of great service. Because Prabhupada was in Krishna Balaram at that time, so significant story. And then in the previous sloka, at the end of the purport, he did the same thing about the Krishna Balaram tree. Because I think the engineers wanted to cut it down for the construction. Prabhupada said, no, don't cut it. So he said which was a tamil tree, because he said there wasn't many, there was a tamil tree, it was lying neglected. So now by desire, he said that tamil tree is flourishing all over the courtyard. So it's quite significant, Prabhupada was there in Vrindavan. His last words, he was thinking, because he used to sit under that tree a lot, in the courtyard a lot, and give classes, do bhajans. So it seems like that the Krishna is empowering the pure devotees, but it doesn't happen like, the way the wand and things happen. You really have to put a lot of endeavor. You see how much Prabhupada gave. He gave so much. He gave his health, he gave his leg, everything. And we're expected to do the same thing in devotional service. As he says, it's not a cheap process. Whatever you do, there must be some reaction for that. So Prabhupada is the acharya. He excels in everything that we could think of doing. Prabhupada studied to such a degree we could never practically do it. So that's the acharya. It's someone we can adore and worship, that we can only hope to, be some assistance somewhere. He's such a great personality, as we've been hearing. And we hope that his glory will go on for thousands of years. We have these wonderful monuments here in the Dharma Samadhi, and other monuments for Srila Prabhupada, so that his legacy and his books, which will be the law books for the next 10,000 years, when things change, languages change, they'll probably be taken from Prabhupada's books and put them into the modern idiom. It's destined to last, according to the words of the acharyas, never go in vain. So some of his words, while you chant Hare Krishna, follow forward, depends which you can go back to God in this life. I like that. So Prabhupada, keep Hare Krishna.
So next on the schedule, we're going to have some art at Prabhupada. Can't quite do that while it's happening.
You might have a little quiz.
All right, now I get a quiz. Is there anyone?
He's in the crash. Shall I get him?
Yeah, please, while we're waiting, I'll just ask the devotees if they like to share something which has inspired them to take to Krishna consciousness, or even do something in particular, service to, say, Sankirtan mission, something which inspired them from Prabhupada's words or behavior. Anyone like to share something? Everyone is inspired, that's why you're here. Something that maybe you read in Prabhupada's book which brought you to Krishna consciousness? Sharanga?
I got a Facts for Life book. I got it, it's my Preston or Facts for Life. And there's two conversations with Prabhupada in that book which inspired me. One was Prabhupada has a conversation with someone from the United Nations, work thing, and he says, the guy says, we're getting tractors now in India, that'll save a lot of work. The tractor can do the work of 100 men. And then Prabhupada said, better 100 men working than signing on the dole and sitting around an idle mind sales workshop. And then the other one which really struck me was where he said that the electric light, it's okay. It's better than my oil wick lamp, but it's uber calm. You've got to do so much work, drilling oil in the sea and transporting it all. And he said, okay, it's a better light, but easier instead. Just grow some castor plants, get the seeds, squeeze the seeds, get some oil, put it in a little cup with a wick. And if you want to stay up a little bit late in the evening, you can just light the wick and use that if you want to read a book or something like that. And that way, evermore, save yourself all that uber calm and hard work of the power station. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. So, two nice, simple living, high thinking memories from Srila. Okay. Yes.
I joined in 82 in Chaitanya College, so at that time the devotees had this theme and they wanted to keep Prabhupada in the center, and it was such Prabhupada, so there was a lot of Prabhupada guitar going up, and I always remember the devotee that used to be the temple president at Silverstreet, Bhagavad, and he told us the story of how he was there personally when Srila Prabhupada left this world. And when Srila Prabhupada left, he was going to these different kind of positions, and the Kaviraj said, this is him dancing now in his swarup with Krishna, because the devotees didn't know what Srila Prabhupada was doing this. And then finally Srila Prabhupada left his body, and as he left his body, Bhagavad said that Srila Prabhupada went, Hare Krishna, and he pushed his tongue out as he did, then he left his body. And then when they were trying to take Srila Prabhupada's body, he didn't want to let go, so he was holding Prabhupada's foot and he was crying. They were trying to take him, and finally they took Srila Prabhupada, and there was a garment Srila Prabhupada had around him, because Srila Prabhupada was weeping urine before he left, because of his condition. And Bhagavad grabbed that cloth, and he said it smelled like a bouquet of roses. Srila Prabhupada's body was so pure. So that was something that was stated with a recollection, direct recollection of what Srila Prabhupada was like when he left the world.
So am I here now? Anyone else like to share something of the, maybe heard of Prabhupada's passing, or lead up to, or something that inspired them from Prabhupada? Good, back to you.
I just read today about in the last volume of Prabhupada Nirvamrita, number 6, from Satguru Maharaj. And he actually says many times, he said in different ways as well. He says that in the Prabhupada's passing, he didn't exhibit some extraordinary mystic powers, or he didn't exhibit any miracles or any, anything that he had. He just remained equipoise, and he remained the same as he always had been.
Yeah, that's a very good point. He never actually made a big show of anything, did he? But his actions spoke volumes, what he did with his time in this world. Anyone else?
So I'm reading the seventh volume of the Prabhupada Leela today. It's like a supplementary volume that talks about some of his pastimes.
Okay.
And Satguru made the point that he did a lot of traveling, but he traveled on the transcendental plane. He was like Krishna in the center of his life, and that's how he was able to achieve so much.
That's a good point, yeah. You can't imitate the Acharya and follow in his footsteps. Interesting thing, Jennifer Priya can confirm this when she comes back, but when the devotees in Hungary were first translating Prabhupada's books, when Prabhupada was talking about the transcendental plane, they translated the transcendental airplane, where the devotees were thinking there was actually a plane was going to come and take them to a transcendental level. So it was lost in translation somewhat. But still, even though it was mistranslated, people joined the temple and chanted Hare Krishna.
What about that pastime, when he was trying to get money from the Beatles, I think it was, and there was a thunder, right? So it kind of shows how he is, even nature was.
Krishna's in control.
Yeah, Krishna.
He wasn't personally present there, but Krishna acted on his behalf.
Yeah. I'm not very good with remembering names or
Yeah, you can
dates.
tell the story if you like.
This story.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. I'm not going to be able to recite it because I can't remember the
No, I'm
details.
saying that I know that one. If you want, I can say it.
Sure, yeah.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Well, basically, it was Shyama Sundar Prabhu had always cultivated George Harrison of the Beatles. And one thing that George Harrison liked about the Hare Krishnas was that, unlike many other people, they didn't harass him for his money, for his fortune. And Prabhupada said that this George Harrison is very nice. Ask him if he can give some donation to help with the printing of Krishna book. And Shyama Sundar's heart sank because he never wanted it to be like that. And he thought, oh, I'll do it because Prabhupada asked. He says, but I'm not expecting a very good reaction. So he was waiting for it. He was feeling very awkward that evening when he went to see George Harrison at his place. And he asked the question, he says, oh, Prabhupada was asking if, can you give such and such donation for the printing of Krishna book? And he said that George's face just dropped as if, it's like, oh no, just, his face said, oh, not another one, just ultimately just asked for my money. So, but just as he said that, then the lights went off and there was thunder and lightning, and then the lights came back on again, and George had a big smile on his face and says, how can I refuse? So then he gave it. You can see actually this is Prabhupada, Krishna telling him, that he should serve this desire of Prabhupada.
Shamasundar said as well, I don't really want to do it, Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, you just do it, and Krishna will take care of everything. So then, his words were very prophetic.
Yeah, and actually that foreword, which was written by George Harrison, the front of Krishna book, it was written by Shamasundar and signed by George Harrison.
You have with the mic here.
I just remember another pastime of the, not pastime, it's like Sastra Maharaj says about how Prabhupada, many people say that his pastimes of living in this world are actually even more sweet and intimate than the pastimes of early days. Early days are always known as like the most intimate and like not formal time, but Sastra Maharaj says that his last disappearing pastimes are, were actually free of chastisements, what usually the guru would do, and they would have so much like intimate connection. And Prabhupada was actually apologizing to his god brother, oh, I got posted because of my money, please forgive me, I just want to apologize to you. And they're saying, no, you don't get posted at all, everything you did was for Krishna. He was like, Uncle Sarva. So Saswat Maharaj says that he was already on the level of Krishna Madhyama Uttama. So the Uttama now sees everybody as devotees. Before that, he was Uttama, coming on the platform of Madhyama and preaching. So he could make distinction. But this time he was actually already on his highest central position.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for sharing that. And if you want to find out more details about Prabhupada's disappearance and the lead up to that, you can find it in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And also there's the video final lesson, which Raghunath can provide a link to if anybody wants to see that. So I would like to invite Nimai to come and share his transcendental quiz about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just go out and use open speech. That's what it is.
I just want to say, Srila Prabhupada's last stop before going to Vrindavan, his final day, was back to Nottingham in the UK.
Especially Prabhupada made that journey for a specific reason, to show that even in his last days, he was prepared to go to the West to show how important it was to preach and not just go there and die comfortably.
So thanks for welcoming me back for a second time in 3 days, I think. Yeah, this quiz will be about just Srila Prabhupada's life, some dates, some names, just general. Just one thing, if it's okay, Senior and Gore, please don't answer the questions, you've already heard them.
Who's not to answer it?
They've already heard it, like Gore and Senior.
Well, you can say it.
It's quite hard to remember everything.
Yeah, okay, just you'll have an unfair advantage. Okay, so I will start now. What year was Prabhupada born? Please put up your hand before you answer. Okay, Raghunath Prabhu?
1896.
1896, very good, yes. What were the names of his parents? Arinda Mataji?
Gohan and Rangan.
No. Gurmohan and?
Sorry, that means nothing.
Yes, Srila Prabhu?
Ranjan.
Yeah, Rajan or something like that, yeah. Okay, what were his childhood nicknames? Yes, Prabhu?
Kachori
Sorry?
Kachori Muki was one of his nicknames.
Yeah, and?
Another one.
Yes, Srila Prabhu?
Moti.
Yes, and also there was something else.
Was that one, Jim?
Moti.
And there was also another one, just a clue, it's something to do with Krishna's dad. It's something to do with Nanda Maharaj.
Nandu.
Lal, yes. Which city did he grow up in? Yes, John?
Calcutta.
Yes. Amazing city. Which college did he attend? Okay, this one was, yes, trying to yes. So Scottish people should be proud that Prabhupada got education from their college. Yeah. In fact, I looked up on Wikipedia and apparently it's still running, and like that college still runs. Okay. What year did he meet his Guru Maharaj? Yes.
1922.
Yeah. What year did he take initiation? Yes, Winda Mataji?
1932.
Yeah, 1932. I think, I'm not sure, I think it was 33 actually, but I could be wrong, I'm not
Yes.
sure.
It's in 33.
33, that's good. Okay. Which year did he start Back to Godhead magazine? Yes.
1944.
Yes, while the Second World War was going. Which year did he take sannyas? Yes, John Prabhu?
1959.
Yeah.
Sadhu.
Okay, which was his first book? Yeah, what's your name?
Kishan.
Sorry?
Kishan.
Kishan Prabhu.
Easy genital.
What? Yeah.
Easy genital tank.
Yeah, easy genital tanks. Yeah, that was it.
Bravo.
What was the name of the boat that took him to India? Johnny?
To India or to America?
To America. Yes. Yeah, Jonathan. And I have a third question, which, are there any people who love boats in this room? Like, who know those about boats? Like Indian ships. Okay. What does the ship's official name? The Jadata's official name is MV Jadata. What does MV stand for? He heard the answer.
He knows the answer already.
He knows the answer already. I did the quiz there, so everything. Does anyone know what MV stands for? Okay. What does it stand for, Gura?
Motor vessel.
Yes.
Bravo.
Where did Srila Prabhupada first stay in America? Yes, Prabhupada?
Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Which New York park did Prabhupada first do like Harinam at? Yes, John Prabhu?
Tompkins Square.
Yeah, Tompkins Square Park. Where did Srila Prabhupada go after New York? Johnny?
San Francisco.
Yes, San Francisco. What year did he first visit the UK in? Okay, John?
1969.
Yeah, 1969. What year did he first, well, he only visited it once. What year did he visit the Soviet Union? Do you know yet? Joe Astro?
1971.
Yeah, that's it's an exciting story, like how he managed to visit the Soviet Union. Because they're very... Okay, this will be a nice question. What year did he visit Scotland? Adoption Prabhu?
72.
Yeah, 1972. He visited Edinburgh and then also Glasgow. He visited Glasgow, got things going here. What are Srila Prabhupada's big temples in India? Like he has three big temples in India. Yes, Prabhu?
Bombay, Manipur, Vrindavan.
Yeah, those three. Like I've been through that. Like Vrindavan. Yeah, there's Krishnabam and yeah. Bombay is a whole big story. How they managed to get that going? Okay, how many temples did he open altogether? This is an easy one. Yes, Prabhu?
108.
Yeah, he opened 108 temples. How many times did he travel around the globe? Mataji? Yeah. When did he leave his body? Yes, Dr. Prabhu?
November 76.
Yeah, where did he leave his body? Yes, we should clap.
Bravo!
Yes, so yeah, that's the whole quiz. Thank you for...
Bravo! Sadhu!
Yeah, hopefully next time there's a festival we can
Jai.
again.
Jai.
Thank you. So we can stand and offer art to Prabhupada, and we can sing this song, Jai Madana. Do we have it somewhere? Yes. And you want to stand for Kirtan? You doing art here? Someone assigned to do art? Okay, and the devotees can come and offer a flower to Srila Prabhupada as well. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Janilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Janilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Kamura Swarupupa Kahasanata Kahamura Swarupa Kahasanatha Kahada Saragunatha Patita Bhava Kahada Saragunatha Patita Bhava Kahamura Bhattaduja Kahakavira Kahamura Bhattaduja Kahakavira Ikakale Kutagela Puranatara Ikakale Kutagela Ikakale Kutagela Puranatara Ashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Anale Pashibo Ashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Goranga Gunera Nidi Kotagele Pabo Goranga Gunera Nidi Kotagele Pabo Goranga Gunera Nidi Kotagele Pabo Goranga Gunera Nidi Saba Sangira Sange Piccolo Bila Saba Sangira Sange Piccolo Bila Saba Sangira Sange que coilo bila se sangana paya kande narottamada Se Sangana Paya Kande Narottamada Ke Anilo Premadana Karuna Pratu Hello Prabhu Kota Gela Achaya Thakur Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Prachadne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashatya Deshatarine Shivajayo Nande Aruti Kushobha Anavitattavani Jagamana Rati Deni Tai Chan Damigadadara Ikateya Gita Shri Rasi Achigora Chan Ratna Simsani Aroti Korena Brahma Harideva Jani Naradi Adi Kori Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Oshadigaya Shankabhajiganta Bhaji Vajikartana Madhura Mridanga Bhaji Paramarasana Kala deshe vanamala kurijala mala Shiva Tukhanara Pinigadagada Akati Vinoda Deke Purara Sampada Shiva Jaya Jaya Dora Chande Aruti Kushobha Vikanta Bani Jagamana Loka Orangira Ruti Shobha Jagajana Mana Loha Would like to invite someone else to sing Damdarasa. Brenda, would you like to sing? Can you read from there? Or you want to sing here with me? So do it, you can turn it off for a candle now.
Namameswaram Satchitanandurupam Lasakundalom Kukule Brajamandam
Namameswaram Satchitanandurupam Lasakundalom Kukule Brajamandam
Yasoda Piyolukala Dhammamanam Parabhishamachanta Tojutigopya
Yashoda Piyolukala Dhammamanam Parabhishamachanta
Vedanta Mohonetra Yudvam Vijantam Karam Boja Yudmena Santam Kanetram Ruha Swasa Kanka Tire Kanka Kanta Sita Gravam Damodaram Bhakti Padam Iti Triksalila Bidananda Kunde Swagoshami Majanta Makya Payantam Tadiye Shitake Chupati Chitatam Guna Prema Tastam Shatam Pratibande Adam deva moksham nam boksham vadimva nachadyam rineham vadishadapiha. Itam te vapunata gopala balam sadamimanasya vedasam kimanyai. Itam te vapunata gopala balam sadamimanasya vedasam kimanyai. Idam te mukham bojam matyantalile Vitam kuntalai snigdharachayasya gopya. Idam te mukham bojam matyantalile Vitam kuntalai snigdharachayasya gopya. Muhajam pitam bimbaratadarame Manasya vinasam malam lakshalabhyai. Muhajam pitam bimbaratadarame Manasya vinasam Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasita Prabhu Dukha Jalati Magnam. Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasita Prabhu Dukha Jalati Magnam. Vipatristi Vishyati Dinam Vatanu Vihane Shamam Bhagyam Ejachitrisya. Vipatristi Vishyati Dinam Vatanu Vihane Shamam Bhagyam Ejachitrisya. Vedatma Chopatam Muchyaivayatvat Tvaya Mochito Bhakti Vajapritocha. Vedatma Chopatam Muchyaivayatvat Tvaya Mochito Bhakti Vajapritocha. Tata prema bhaktin svakam me priyasya Namokshikaho mesi damodareha. Tata prema bhaktin svakam me priyasya Namokshikaho mesi damodareha. Namaste sudamne sudaditi damne Svadiyodarai tata vispasya damne. Namaste sudamne sudaditi damne Svadiyodarai tata vispasya damne. Namo Radhikaya Tvadiyai Priyayai Namo Nantarilaya Devaya Tubhyam. Namo Radhikaya Tvadiyai Priyayai Namo Nantarilaya Devaya Tubhyam. Namam Vishwaram Satchitanandamdarupam Lasakundanam Gokule Vajamanam. Namam Vishwaram Satchitanandamdarupam Lasakundanam Gokule Vajamanam. Yashoda Biyodukalatabhamanam Parabhishamachanta Tojichagopya. Yashoda Biyodukalatabhamanam Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Godani Sai Jaya Maya Kosati Jaya Godani Sai Jaya Maya Kosati. Jaya Tito Tina Jaya Tito Tina Tito Tina Jaya Tito Tina. Jaya Giri Dhanina, Jaya Giri Dhanina, Giri Dhanina, Jaya Giri Dhanina. Jaya Nisingade, Jaya Nisingade, Nisingade, Jaya Nisingade. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. John Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivartikacharya Asatosha Tashi Shivan His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON BPDC Founder Charge Srila Prabhupada ki. Shikram Parampara ki. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem Sakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Shri Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Shri Leela Chal Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Gangamai Jamunamai ki. Bhakti Devi Tosamarani ki. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution ki. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Prasad Distribution ki. Shri Harinam Prabhu ki. Vaishnav Seva Vaishnav Sangha ki. ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Namaste, Narasingaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Lada Dayine. Prahlada Lada Dayine. Hiranyakashipo Vakshaha. Hiranyakashipo Vakshaha. Shila Tankana Kalaye. Shila Tankana Kalaye. Ito Nishingha Parato Nishingho. Ito Nishingha Parato Nishingho. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishingha. Yato Yamitato Nishingha. Bahe Nishingho Hridaye Nishingho. Narasingamadim Saranam Kapage. Tabakara Kamala Varenaka Adhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Adhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shingadev Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening in the temple and online in honouring Srila Prabhupada. And as he said that his followers live with him. So as we said earlier on, we may not have personally met Prabhupada. Amongst us, Raj Kapoor met him for a moment. And Raj, if you're still there, just imagine what your life would have been like without that one moment of pure devotees association. So we have maybe not personally met Srila Prabhupada, but we've met him in his books, we've met him in his videos and in his lectures, and in the devotees who have personally met him. And that is still there. It's wonderful that even though we didn't meet Prabhupada personally directly, but we were still able to associate with his direct disciples and get first-hand knowledge of Prabhupada from them. So let's take advantage of that. And we're living in very special times where we can practice Krishna consciousness freely. The only thing which is stopping us is ourselves. So don't let us miss out on that great opportunity and take fully Krishna consciousness while we have the opportunity. And if we can do something to help spread this Krishna consciousness movement, then Prabhupada will be certainly very pleased. This will get a lot of mercy for Prabhupada and will help us advance in Krishna consciousness very quickly. Okay, so we'll finish there, and we just encourage everyone to keep to their devotional practices and remain connected with Prabhupada through his books, lectures, etc. Srila Prabhupada ki, Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Shishi Koti Taima Prashashi ki, Nittai Gaur Premanande.